Have you ever wondered if something you were doing in your business could potentially be haram? Well, I did, and I was freaking out. So I spent hours and hours researching, getting scholarly opinions, and speaking to shuyukh. And I've gathered that these 5 things that most people don't realize are haram that they're probably doing in their business. And if you're curious about any of the proof, I've left links in the description so you can check my arguments, where I got them from, etc. The first thing that I see happen a lot, especially if you're an agency owner or if you're working as a consultant or a coach, is that you end up working with the wrong kind of person. Your niche ends up being the issue. Now, specifically your niche, you end up working with somebody who has something haram in their service. Let's say you work with a restaurant, right? Most restaurants probably serve alcohol. You don't even want to try and work with them. This is kind of a gray area in business, I can't lie, because a lot of people, what they find is that working directly with them, as long as you're not selling the alcohol, is not haram. But you probably don't want that on your conscience, do you? It's definitely not going to probably be a good deed on your shoulder that you managed to work with somebody and getting them more clients, and you ended up helping them sell more of their alcoholic beverages. And this goes for loads of niches, right? You've got niches such as financial advisors, real estate agents, all those niches that potentially work with riba or anything haram you want to be careful of. And this is a trap we often fall into. You see, we have this scarcity mindset as Muslims that we think we have to work with the Americans or the British or the Australians or whoever, when in reality, even if you don't speak Arabic, you can work with Saudis, you can work with Emiratis, you can work with people who are in Arab countries who have the money and who you can support as Muslim businesses rather than having to work in the West. So if you did want to work with real estate agents, for example, you can work with real estate agents who are in Saudi Arabia, right? So for you, you have to be careful of your niche. Maybe the niche that you pick, the people that you're working with, they end up doing something haram. I remember one of my clients asking me, Fedi, is this niche haram? And they ended up bringing me a coach. Now, mindset coaches, I love them. But this specific coach was talking about things that were borderline shirk, right? Talking about tarot cards, right? Talking about manifestation stuff, all of that, which although you getting them clients is not haram, you don't want to be part of that cycle. So that's the first thing, is your niche. The second thing is something we see happen a lot online, which is really simple, right? And it's the same thing that makes people want to buy from you, but also could mean that your business isn't getting any barakah because you're low-key doing something haram. And this is over-promising without delivering. Now, we're told that not sustaining our contracts, right, not maintaining our contracts is haram. We know that. If you break a contract that you have with somebody, whether it's a verbal contract or a written contract, it is haram for you to do so. But what we don't understand is also that in the contracts that we make, especially verbal contracts, which we're sometimes unaware of, over-promising a goal is a big issue. If you over-promise something, knowing that you might not be able to deliver on it, then you are potentially doing something haram. So in your offers, this is the way you want to structure it. If you want to have a guarantee in your offer, make sure that the guarantee isn't you saying we will get you these results no matter what, but it's you reversing the risk onto yourself. Look, this is the result that we want to get you. But if we don't get you that result, then we offer you a guarantee where we refund your money, work for you for free, whatever that your guarantee is. And you want to be careful about this because you don't want to overpromise. You never want to overpromise and not have some sort of risk reversal. So if you want to have an irresistible offer, make sure you're not trying to promise the world without trying to deliver on it. That you are actively trying to reverse the risk onto yourself. That way, if the contract ends up being broken, you take responsibility for it rather than leaving someone in the dust. Now, the third one's going to shock you, and you might have seen from the thumbnail, right? AI is potentially haram. Now, I say potentially, and I'm not saying it is haram, because of one key argument, the argument of ihsan. We Muslims were born into this earth to be the best that we can be, whether that be in business, in school, whatever it is that we decide to have as our endeavors. And using AI is taking you away from your intelligence. You see, most people, the way they use AI is they use AI to think for them. Allah has given you a means to actively get exactly what you want from this world, your brain. And by you, instead of using your brain, you end up using AI. This is the key thing. If you use AI to automate some things, if you use AI for manual labor, that is fine. But if you're using AI instead of your brain, what you're doing is destroying the whole point of you working on your business, the whole point of you being who you are, right? The whole point of you working your business is for you to become smarter, for you to learn about your niche, for you to learn about business, how to make money. But when you're just using AI for everything rather than thinking, what is the point? The intention you had going into the business gets destroyed, right? So destroy, like having negative intentions or going against supposed intentions, especially intentions of ihsan, wanting to be better, is haram, right? You cannot go in and try and use AI for the sake of using AI because you undermine the goal of your business. And this is why I say it's potentially haram, because you're undermining the goal of the business and you're not utilizing the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, which is a form of laziness. and you being lazy rather than you trying to actively use your brain to figure problems out, it's a no-go, Habibi. It's just a no-go. The fourth thing is just businesses, right? Certain businesses such as drop shipping, drop servicing, those are haram. Do you want to know why? Because you don't own the product or the solution. You have to own those things. You can't just try and be a middleman all the time between this person and that person, right? Unless you clearly say, look, I'm the middleman. I'm just here to connect you with this person. I'm just here to connect you with this product. If you're fully transparent with it, then that's fine. But if you're putting it across as your business, your product, and it's not, then that's haram. Not only is it obviously a blatant lie, but if you're doing something like drop servicing, where you're trying to find freelancers to do the work for you, and you're not telling your clients that you're trying to find freelancers, then it's haram, right? You can't be advertising you as the business owner owning the product or service because you don't own it, right? And specifically with dropshipping, if you don't own the product, you cannot sell it because it's not yours, right? There's a complicated way to go around it, but I'm not a dropshipper. I don't like dropshipping. I think it's a bit of a goofy business. But anyways, that's my opinion. You want to start war in the comments? Feel free to. Last but not least, this is the one that I think is the biggest one you have to be wary of, which is promoting haram lifestyles. You see, I work with people, some of my clients are agency owners that have content agencies, and they work with content creators, they work with certain coaches, etc. And the biggest thing I tell them is be careful who you work with. It is incredibly important that you work with somebody who, one, is not going to use music. Number two, somebody who doesn't promote haram lifestyle. If you're going to be working with somebody, for example, like Andrew Tate, who you see him topless all the time, being topless, having your awrah not covered is haram, right? For example, if you were to work with an influencer, and this is the issue I have with influencer marketing agencies, if you're going to work with an influencer, be careful, because if that person decides to use music in their videos all the time, if they decide to talk about certain topics we don't want them to talk about, right? If they decide to do things that are completely haram for us to do, then you are promoting that. Whether or not you realize it, you are connected to that in some way. So you always want to be careful with who you're working with, and it's kind of linked to number one around the niches, right? But this is specifically in terms of what this person does, the who, right? The specific person. If you want to avoid these 5 things, I promise you now, Allah will put more barakah into your business just to be safe. Like I said, I cannot guarantee these things are haram. Some of them I can, such as number 4 around drop shipping and drop servicing, but others aren't fully guaranteed, which is why they are potentially some things that you are doing. And from the scholarly opinions I've received, nothing can be deemed haram unless Allah says it is haram. But there's some things from a hadith that we can kind of get to with a logical argument that it is potentially and quite possibly haram, and therefore you want to completely avoid. So hopefully you find this video useful. Inshallah, don't worry, I'm not here to try and sell you my business model that's 100% halal. But feel free to watch this video right here. It's about how shaitan is stopping you from becoming wealthy. Bidnillah, you see you there. I have no hair in this video, and in that video I do have hair, so don't get shocked, it is still me. Bidnillah, you have a lovely, lovely rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.